My bike trip around Europe to meet Christians from different backgrounds started in Germany, led me through Sweden and Denmark, and after 3 months, I made it to my childhood home, a town close to The Hague where I lived as an 8 to 11-year-old. I visited my old babysitter and met her friend Corinna, who was so kind and generous to let me stay in her beautiful garden house for a whole week. I'm so grateful because being there felt like time travel into my childhood. I soaked up all the nostalgia and memories that all of these places sparked in me. And I think my time there was one of the happiest times of this whole trip. Unfortunately, my health kept changing my plans.
I'm feeling a little bit under the weather, which is really annoying because honestly, I don't think I've been completely healthy since like week 1, where I got really sick of my trip, and that it's been 3 months. So yeah, it's not great.
It's 1 a.m., but I'm so excited because I just got a message from Corinna, in whose amazing place I get to stay right now. And she told me at dinner before that there might be this crazy thing happening. I didn't even know this was possible in the Netherlands, where something in the ocean, I think with algae, I don't know if that's the right word, is happening, that when the water moves, it glows. So I've seen this on Instagram before, and I've always wanted to see it in real life. So I'm so excited. I'm gonna get dressed and go out to see it right now. You know, it's just occurring to me that this is kind of scary. The beach is in a nature reservoir. That means it's very far away from any houses. And Corinna, who told me about this, she and her family are already gone again, which is totally fine. I took very long. So yeah, I have to ride into the dark now, but I hope it's gonna be worth it.
So this is where I'm looking at. It's giving me a very big flashbacks to the first time I was doing my long bike trip from Munich, and I was in the middle of the forest. Oh my god, the stars are so pretty though. Didn't have those in Munich.
I have to admit, it was a little creepy, but I did eventually make it. You ready for some ghost stories? You're not gonna get them here. I hate ghost stories so much. But instead, I'm gonna show you how I make my wildest dreams come true. Ah! It took me a while to even get to the ocean because it was so far back. But then again, I don't think I've seen it many times at 3 a.m., but I eventually found it. You know, there are a few things in life I think that make you feel as much as a weirdo than at 3 a.m. being at a lonely beach and walking in the ocean, staring at your feet and seeing if it's gonna sparkle. Like, that's such a weird activity to do in the middle of the night. But if I see it, it's gonna be worth it. But I've been walking for like, I don't know, at least 10 to 15 minutes. So I think I'm pretty close to giving up now because there's nothing here. And it is a little bit scary. I actually eventually did find it, and it wasn't as bright as I thought it would be, but it still felt like Moana, and it was so worth it. Unfortunately, my camera was not able to capture it, so this is kind of anticlimactic, but it kind of looked like this, just way less extreme. The next day, I visited the church I used to visit in The Hague with my family and sat down with one of the associate pastors afterwards.
My name is Caroline Zwart Candelaria. We are today in Crossroads, The Hague, and the church just turned 25 years last year and has been my community for the past 25 years as well. So I've been here from the beginning with my parents. I was hired as a youth director back in 2007, but last September my role changed and I'm now one of the associate pastors. I come from the island of Curacao and Aruba in the Caribbean. When we were moving here, I remember my parents thinking like, oh no, you're gonna go to the Netherlands of all places, temptation abound. If anything, my faith and my brother's faith is solidified more here because you needed to not just tell people you're believers, but they would question you on that. So you had to voice why it is you believe and what it is really you do believe in, and it became more real for us there. And in the international context, I think coming from the Caribbean, we're not fully Dutch. And I'm more Dutch now than I was back then in my thinking, but not fully, and I love the diversity. Once a year we try to have an international Sunday here where we have people from all different backgrounds, and there's 30 plus nationalities in Crossroads. Having them come and to get to see that someone from the Greek islands or Canada or Zimbabwe or Australia, that we all come together, we bend the knee to the same God, I find that beautiful and moving. And the way we talk about what God has been doing in our personal lives, in our marriages, in our families, in our country, I think that's amazing. It keeps our eyes wide open on the global church, the capital C church, and I think we can all use that every so often. I do think it's very determining indeed how we do church, because it's such a varied gathering of people from many church backgrounds and denominational backgrounds and languages and cultures and stuff like that. And so you might find some things that in some churches can become like hot topics, like, oh, where do you stand? Here we decide, okay, as long as we can agree on salvation through faith, and we're going to love each other, and look, we did the message today, faith expressing itself through love. If we can agree on these essentials that are the hills that you can die on, then we can disagree on all the other stuff. About 5 or 6 years ago, we had we went through a very difficult season as a church together, and it's a very long story. I won't bore you with all the details, but it boiled up to almost being like a church split. We lost about a third of the church at that point, and there was so much heartache and pain and a lot of emotions and people picking sides. It was all that the ugliness of gathering together that you don't want to see in the church. And at that point, I even took a few months away to be healed. I think at that point my cup was empty. There was nothing left to give. I needed to find my place again as all these hats that we wear. I had to come back to the place of I'm just a daughter of the Most High King and just sit with Him. And I think about 3 or so months I was away, and when I started coming back again after that time, there was a service that Crossroads was having, which was kind of as a community together to wrap up this difficult season, like thanking God for what He's done for us despite the storm and through the storm, and to commit together that we're not going to hang on to the pain and the aches of the past. And so we came together and we had candles on the table for all the different years that Crossroads existed, and for each candle we prayed over the years, and gonna get emotional now even. But it was such a beautiful moment of finding grace together, because there were people who didn't know what was happening. That was part of the meeting. There were people who were clearly on this side, people were on that side, but we came together and said sometimes we can all mean well, but we didn't always do well. And so how do we grieve for what needs to be grieved, say thankful for, say thank you for what needs to what needs to be shown gratitude at that point, and say now we're committing to be church again. We are going to we're not looking at each other's differences, we're facing forward, and we're going forward. And that was a emotionally very difficult evening, but also healing. It was good. You're aware of each's uniqueness. You just kind of zone in on what is important, and then we hang on to that. And we will make mistakes. It'll be messy. We'll say sorry and we'll move on. We've realized along the lines, in the past couple of years at Crossroads, because it's a place that is choosing intentionally, not perfectly so, but choosing to be a place of grace and acceptance and love before we look at each other's differences, that it is home or attracts a lot of people who might not find their fit in other communities. And so, I've worked with, like I said, with teens before, that we've had people who are on the spectrum of autism, and you want to love them well, but we've had, with the youth leader standing with hands right here, like, I don't know how to do this. A teen would, angrily get up from the group and walk away. Or our event, we had a murder mystery party, and the unknowns of it would push all the wrong buttons with some people. And so we had the mom of two great guys who were on the spectrum with autism as well. They're older teens now, but the mom came and said, okay, my husband and I, we've struggled through the kid years and how to do this, and now we've become sort of experts by experience. How about we gather some of the people within Crossroads to do so? And it was a perfect idea, because from the moment it was mentioned, everyone was like, yes! What amazing would it be to have this place not just be safe by accident, but intentionally safe for people, whether you're dealing with autism or learning disability. We have a kid with Tourette's and highly sensitive, whatever it is, that we want to be known for our love for others, and that would include if you're wired differently, if you have some people come with instructions on how they need to be approached and how they filter the world. We want to do all that we can do to be able to love them well in a way that lands with them. We had great conversations coming out of that. And so to help the kids ministry volunteers, the youth ministry volunteers, but just in the church, we talked about, some people, they're sensitive to light. How do we do with the curtains? And do we have a room in the back where it's more quiet and they can, through live stream, still follow with the service? So yeah, I'm looking forward to all the initiatives in which our community will continue to grow into being a welcoming and safe place for everyone.
As always, I also asked how we could pray for this church.
I mean, The Hague is a student city, becoming more and more so. So we have students and young adults and kids and teens. And for me to think that whatever happened in the world will shape them. I mean, there's no denying that. But to think that I would hope, my prayer is, Canola, that in 10 years from now, that the teens and kids that we have now can look back and think, that was a place that I was allowed to struggle in my faith. I was allowed to rebel. I mean, now we encourage that necessarily, but I was allowed to rebel and I was not loved any less for it. I could struggle, I could have questions, I could push the limits, teens want to be shocking sometimes, with their questions, and I could do all that and still be loved. And so for me, working with the young people, it gets my heart, my blood pumping faster to think that we get to enjoy them as the church of today. It ticks me in the wrong ways when people say the kids are the church of tomorrow. No, they're the church of today. They're the leaders of tomorrow. And so I'm just praying for this next generation, and not just Crossroads, I mean global church, and those who are not even geared towards the center just yet. They don't know, they haven't responded to the invitation, that they would know there's a purpose and a plan for your life, and you don't have to be perfect. It's just about a relationship. Hang on to him and go for the ride of your life. Sounds like a movie trailer now.
No, that's so special. I really appreciate all the work that you do here, and I'm so grateful that I got to come back to the place where I was as a child, and I'm so sure that I will be back again. So thank you so much.
You are very welcome, Canola, seriously.
It's my last day in Wassenaar, and I just got back to the garden house where Corinna and her family let me stay for the last days. And she left this on the house. It's so sweet, and on the card it says, "Hi Carola, we all love to have you here. Safe trip, we will follow you." And they all signed it. And I literally just cried because it's so sweet. I feel so blessed that I got to stay here. I'm overwhelmed by the kindness of this family. This is so special. That wraps up my time in my old childhood town. I had such a good time, and as always, I would be so grateful if you could like this video, comment something nice if you like, and of course, please subscribe to this channel. It really helps me so much, and it doesn't cost you anything. So if you want to keep watching my videos, it comes out every Thursday. I would highly recommend to smash that like button, and I will see you next Thursday.